Good morning. I was just reading the word this morning and a word just popped out at me. And so I'm going to read that. So I was in Psalm 91, and what Psalm 91 says is, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." That in itself kind of catches me up because I was kind of meditating on that verse alone earlier this week, and I thought, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High. Well, the Most High being God, and if I'm dwelling or living in the shelter, in God's shelter, I can rest in the shadow of the Almighty. So even in the darkness, I'm in the shadow of the Almighty and I'm protected. It goes on to say, "I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence." That word, pestilence, came up in my reading today. And it got my attention because I had heard it earlier this week in Psalm 91. And I thought, okay, so what exactly is pestilence? So I looked it up. And pestilence is like, it's a plague capable of wiping out nations. And I mean, we're familiar with that because we just went through COVID. In fact, it's rearing its ugly head again. But, and so, yeah, a lot of people died, but it didn't, I mean, unless it did in other areas, but it didn't wipe out nations, but a lot of people died. And I thought to myself, pestilence, that's like a plague. What could actually be worse than a plague? Because when you read this, surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. So when I think of my relationship with the Lord, I can go through any type of whatever, challenges, trials, and I know that I'm covered. I know that I am resting in the shadow of the Almighty, and I can get through anything that I'm going to face. It may not be fun. It may be very challenging, and I know that people are going through challenges. In fact, I had learned of a friend of mine has been diagnosed with cancer, and I thought, surely it can't be true. But you know what? People go through stuff like this all the time, and it can be true. And so, yeah, life is fragile, and none of us know how long we're going to be here. We really have to like live in the moment because we don't know how long we're going to be here. And so the question is, are you resting in the shadow of the Almighty? Because He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you'll find refuge. He'll save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. I don't know what could be worse than facing deadly illness, creating our own deadly illness. Are we doing that now? Another place that I was reading, John 15, where it says, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit. Every branch that does not bear fruit, He prunes, or every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so that it will be more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. Resting in the shadow of the Almighty is remaining in the vine. That's a lot to think about. I'm going to unpack that as I get into this study that we are doing this year, this fall, in my church, and it comes from the book Surrender the Joy Stealers. And the things that we face, the different types of illnesses and challenges and trials that we face are joy stealers. So in that book, she kind of wraps all of this together, brings us back to John 15, and we study the Psalm, at least in the first chapter. And so that's where I've kind of been this week, and I'm really excited about where it's going to take me and the group that I will be shepherding this fall. So stay tuned, because I think there's a lot to learn here.